Hello, I am Itzia Durham, and this is my final presentation for Bible 117, the Prison Epistles. The Prison Epistles contain Ephesians, Colossians, Philippians, and Philemon, and they were written by the Apostle Paul from prison. We know from early church writers that Paul is indeed the author of these letters, and throughout the letters we see mention of Paul being in chains or in prison, which is why these are grouped together as the Prison Epistles. Some scholars believe that these letters were written from his imprisonment in Ephesus, but it is more likely that they were written altogether from his imprisonment in Rome. And we can almost confirm this in the letter to the Philippians. And they were all sent together with Onesimus and Epaphras to the area of Ephesus and Colossae. Now, I would like to focus on the letter to Philemon and its content. This is Paul's shortest epistle, and was written about the time Colossians and the other two were written, so somewhere between 61 to 63 AD. Some background on Philemon is that he was a good Roman citizen from Colossae who met Paul during his mission in Ephesus and became a follower of Jesus, and later joined Epaphras, Paul's co-worker, and became a leader in his house church. Philemon, like most patriarchs back then, owned slaves, one of whom was named Onesimus, and at some point Onesimus and Philemon had some sort of dispute. Onesimus wronged Philemon in some way, possibly theft or something of the sort, and then he ran away, eventually coming to Paul in prison asking for help. In this process, Onesimus became a follower of Jesus and a beloved assistant of Paul. He later calls him his son, and this shows obviously Paul's love for Onesimus, but also that he was converted to the Lord by Paul. So the purpose of this letter is Paul's appeal to Philemon to not only forgive Onesimus, but also to embrace him as a brother in Christ. And he begins the letter by praising Philemon for his love and faithfulness to Jesus, and then starts his request by saying that he prays that the communication of thy faith, or partnership in faith, or sharing of your faith, depending on what translation you have, may become effective by the acknowledgement of every good thing which is in you in Christ Jesus. What he means by this is that by the sharing of their faith, or their faithfulness to Jesus, Philemon must recognize that Jesus' followers are all equal partners who share in the gift of God's love and grace. He moves on to his request to Philemon, informing him that Onesimus has become a follower of Christ and has become a beloved assistant of Paul, who, although was once unprofitable, is now profitable to him and to Paul, both. And although he would love to keep Onesimus around, he doesn't want to do anything without Philemon's consent, and he knows that the conflict between Philemon and Onesimus can't go unresolved if they both claim to love Jesus. He then boldly asks Philemon to forgive Onesimus and receive him as a brother in Christ instead of a slave. Now, under Roman law, Philemon had every right to imprison or punish Onesimus because he was still his property. So to not only forgive Onesimus, but to embrace him as a family member was unheard of. He tells Philemon to accept Onesimus back as if he were Paul, and that he would pay back anything that Onesimus owed him. He's saying to Philemon, if you really are a partner with me in the faith, you will realize that this is what the Lord has done for you and for everyone else. God has reconciled the world to himself through Jesus, no longer holding people to their sins, but forgiving them and happily welcoming them into his family. He concludes his letter by saying that he is certain that Philemon will do exceedingly more than what he's asked of him due to his love for the saints, and he asks Philemon for future lodging, as he is confident that through Philemon's prayers he will soon be free. Here, Paul is putting himself in the place of Jesus, absorbing the consequences of Onesimus' wrongdoing and paying the cost so that Onesimus can be reconciled to Philemon, and in doing so, he is demonstrating the equality of everyone before God. Philemon and Onesimus are no longer master-slave, but family in Christ. It is important to note that this is the only letter in which Paul doesn't explicitly mention Christ's death and resurrection, but he has no need to explain the cross with words because he is demonstrating it through his actions. He is interceding on Onesimus' behalf so that Philemon may forgive him and receive him into his family. He offered to pay whatever Onesimus owes so that their relationship may be reconciled. And this is a direct parallel of what Jesus did for us on the cross to reconcile us to the Father. Thank you so much.